how to build more unconditional love, especially unconditional self-love. Spoiler alert, the route to that is to build more unconditional love in general. So I'll just start with my journey to self-love. When I realized that people pleasing wasn't really working for me, and I was getting old enough that I realized, I think in my 20s with friendships, you think if you make mistakes or if you choose yourself over the person that you're supposed to be spending time with, or whatever it is, that they are going to abandon you and the friendship is over, right? So you just go along because you figure, oh, I better do all these things these people want, or they're going to leave me. And, that just doesn't work after a while, right? Because you end up resenting people because you think, well, I did all these things for you and now I want you to do these things for me. And it feels like nonsense after a while. So once we make the most important relationship, the one between the source within, I call it that, or Abraham calls it our inner being. Neville Goddard talks about us being God, trying to become conscious in the body. So we are God. Once we make that relationship the most important, everything else becomes a piece of cake. And so whenever things aren't feeling like a piece of cake, after you've made that kind of decision and grown that relationship and created that connection for yourself, you just have to return to it. It's that easy. And that's amazing. So building that relationship, how do we do that? Well, obviously practices that are rooted in appreciation and love. And, some people use the word gratitude. I prefer appreciation, but gratitude also. So those kind of very expansive, high vibrational feelings, once we start accessing them, we're connecting to source, because source does not judge or condemn, right? Source is just seeing people making decisions, doing the best they can, trying to allow better feeling thoughts, trying to move up the emotional scale. So source is always loving. They never turn that valve off. It's just up to us whether or not we're letting it in. So to let it in more is just to become more unconditional. If we're looking at someone and we want them to be different so we can feel better, that's being a conditional lover. And it's very easy to want people to be different. But there are different ways to want them to be different, that you're not running up to them and saying, well, you didn't provide for this for me, and so now I want this from you for you to prove your love for me. We can take all of that out of the equation. We don't have to do anything like that, because with pruning shears of revision and with the Imaginal Act with Neville Goddard, we just go into our imagination, or as Abraham Hicks will talk about, I think their version of that is really like the vortex. And so you just go into the vortex where you've asked for the improvement, and in the vortex, your imagination, and where your inner being is, where the source within is, where they've expanded to the improvement, you just go into there with the improvement too. And then you feel great. So it's all about caring about how you feel, and you start becoming more of an unconditional lover just by generally appreciating. So part of my morning routine that I left out of my last video about morning routines is basking. So Abraham talks a lot about it. General good feeling statements that always feel good to you, that feel true to you. Just trot those statements out every morning, and I guarantee you'll feel a little more of a lightness. And we prepare best for that by going to bed with some general good feeling statements that always feel good to us. And it's really best to not hinge these on things that have conditions attached. So when you're first starting out, it's really best to not hinge these on relationships or things that you have maybe a bit of a tumultuous relationship, like your car, because sometimes it's not working, right? But if you go to these good feeling general statements like the sun came up today, I woke up today, my heart beat throughout the night and throughout the day, and it does that for me all my life. What a gift. Our hearts beating in our chests. That is such a gift. And it's really rare for me not to think about that at least once a day, because it's so incredible. And it's just like, oh, wow. Like, that is something so profound. And ditto our lungs. Like, we don't have to think about these things. They do all that on their own. It's amazing. Our pancreas, you know, maybe our spleen doesn't do anything according to medical science, but we got one. So I thank it as many days as I can remember. Our appendix, I thank that too. You know, thank you for not for being there, and for whatever it is that you do, you must do something, so thank you. Like, just these general good feeling statements. Thank you, digestive system. Thank you, excretory system. Thank you, reproductive system. Thank you, all these systems that are part of my human experience. And I like to think about my cells. Our cells are omniscient. They're connected directly to source. They love us. They want the best for us. They are seeking balance. Whatever food we give them, we're walking around on the planet. Isn't that amazing? So really general good feeling statements, the water moving, the tides moving on the planet, you know, the gravitational pull of the earth, so that we are attached to something that's hurtling through space, the orbits of all the planets in our crazy solar system, and how that's all the trajectories, like nothing bumps into each other, you know, like not like on a crazy scale, like I get it, asteroids, blah, blah, blah. But like when you think about it, they're perfectly in their alignment. And isn't that something special to think about? So these general good feeling statements will really help the specifics pick up. Because once you get rolling down the hill, the momentum rolling down the hill of good feeling statements, more good feeling statements will join, right? More good feeling statements will join those other good feeling statements. And so then we can appreciate the people in our lives, because we're already in such a good place. Maybe something they did that hurt our feelings is not going to show up because we're in a good feeling place. So that vibration that's all the way down here is not going to come up to this good feeling place where we're at right now. It's not going to touch it, right? It's just going to coast on by, because we're able to give them the benefit of the doubt. My grandmother always said that, give the people the benefit of the doubt. And I just said that twice the wrong way. Benefit of the doubt. When you give people the benefit of the doubt, you know, like, and let people off the hook, forgiveness, it really is a gift to yourself, because holding any grudge or negative emotion towards someone because of something they did, thinking they did it on purpose, thinking they did it to hurt you, you know, it just doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good. And when you do that, then Abraham Hicks will talk about this too, that then other experiences that are like that, like attracts like, will show up. And then you're thinking about that other crummy experience. No, thank you. No, thank you. We are powerful focusers. We can focus on what we want. And it just takes practice. It just takes practice. When I read, when I started this journey and I read Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, one of her exercises is say I approve of myself 300 times a day. Just keep saying it over and over and over again. And I remember having a really tough time with it, because I wasn't an unconditional lover yet. And I definitely didn't love myself unconditionally, right? I was conditional. If I fucked up, part of me. If I screwed up, you know, yeah, I totally withdrew the love, because I was like, oh, well, I made a mistake and I'm not worthy of love because of that mistake I made. So when I first started the exercise, it was really hard, and I really noticed it. It was really easy to do it when things were going well, when I was feeling well, when I was already in a happy place. But if I wasn't in a happy place, if I had done something that, you know, I let someone down, let's say, or I let myself down, or I made a mistake, or I was working in retail at the time, I had a poor interaction with a customer, it was really hard on myself, and pulled that love right away, and couldn't say I approve of myself. So continuing to say it after I had that realization, and one of my favorite ones now, again, to connect with that source within, with the inner being, is I love my inner being and my inner being loves me. No matter what's going on, it's always a good feeling statement. If I'm having a moment of anxiety, if I'm having a moment of upset feeling, it goes away when I put my hand on my heart and say, you know, I love my inner being loves me. And I really feel that love, which I've cultivated as I've worked on being gentler with myself, being kinder with myself, being kinder to others, giving them the benefit of the doubt, you know, You know, they make mistakes too. They're human too. They're trying to figure it out too. Everyone is operating from their best possible spot that they can. And sometimes that's not a very good feeling spot when you think about some of the things they've gone through and they can't see past them. So just giving people the benefit of the doubt just makes you feel better. So that kind of became a thing for me as I started studying Abraham Hicks' work. And I love what Neville Goddard says about, you know, when people disappointed me during the day, in the future they will not, because I will adjust them in my imagination. And so this goes to the imaginal act, and this goes to pruning shears of revision. And you just imagine if something went poorly when you go to bed at night, you just reimagine that moment and you just imagine it going exactly as you would want. So you take your attention again away from what is not wanted and away towards what is wanted, right? So it gets easier and easier as you practice this. And again, with the power of autosuggestion from Napoleon Hill, we can make it an easier process. You know, I used to get off track for a whole day. Well, not today. Today I did get off track. I admittedly, I didn't want to get out of bed. It was comfortable in there. I have a great mattress, right? Oh, I'm going to just daydream. I'm going to do this. Oh, maybe I'll watch this one YouTube video. Maybe I'll watch one episode of the show I'm watching now, you know. And I could have let that become my whole day. But I did want to make a better feeling choice because I thought, you know, that era of my life feels kind of like not what I want to do anymore. Like there are things I want to accomplish. I want to stay on a roll of momentum with yoga teacher training. I've got another course I'm working on. I want to get through that material. I want to assimilate it into where I want to become with doing these videos and other things and teaching yoga, you know, all these things that I do want to do, working on more creative media. I've got a script in my back pocket that I'm still working on that I do want to get produced, you know, so we can make a better feeling choice for us at any time. And that's really important to remember. I can make a better feeling choice for myself right in this moment. Sometimes it's not the best feeling thought you've ever thought. Sometimes it's just, you know, an incremental thing. It's just a feeling of relief. If we're feeling really terrible, let's not look for, you know, the bells and whistles and all the candy and the rainbows and the roses, because they won't come to us yet. But in time they will. It's just a matter of finding relief first. So when those thoughts that could feel good if you were feeling good don't feel so good, that's just an indicator that it's out of reach. And it can be in reach. You just have to be more gentle with yourself as you look for the general feeling statements of it's going to be all right. I've gotten through things like this before. I'm doing just fine. Honestly, I'm doing just fine. There is something I could appreciate right now if I tried and make that appreciation thing a super general statement, like the sun coming up every day, or our hearts beating in our chest, or, you know, the way our limbs move, the way our eyes blink, the way we smell, the way we taste, the way we hear, the way we touch. So it's all about starting to care about how you feel. And then once you do that, then you can begin to feel better. And as you do that, and as you cultivate feeling good, as you cultivate unconditional love, it becomes easier and easier to access. And then you can live by the clarity of your example. Abraham Hicks talks about that, and I think that's a gorgeous thing. You don't have to proselytize to anyone. You don't have to lecture at anyone. You just live a good feeling life, and eventually people will start saying to you, hey, what are you doing? Things are a lot different with you lately. You know, it looks like you're having a good time. It looks like this. It looks like that. All these fun things are happening for you. What's going on? And then you can talk about a self-love journey that you've cultivated and how you've cultivated and the examples that you have that helped you get to a better feeling place more consistently. So that's a little bit about unconditional love. Thanks.